as we teach digital learners, we realize that it is super imperative that we teach every learner. And we all realize that today, with accessibility and inclusion, we want to make sure they're all covered. And we need it to be seamless. If a student has to keep asking, could you put closed captioning on the bottom of your slides? Could you, they don't want to stand out. They want to seamlessly be successful in your course. So let me show you some great free Microsoft tools that will allow this. But quickly, a story. The CEO of Microsoft, his name is Satya Nadella, and he really has given some great direction to Microsoft. You guys know that I work with them quite a bit. And his son, he doesn't mention this very often, is on the spectrum. He has autism. And as his son was 11, 12, he realized that his very company, Microsoft, didn't make many tools that could include him as well. So they're now making tons of these tools for free and allowing third parties like Canvas, D2L, Blackboard, and all to use them within their products. Let's take a look. At any age group, students would rather go without than stand out. Did you read that? Listen to that in your mind one more time. We need to move from assuming access to ensuring access in every classroom, and I think remote learning has its own special challenges to make sure accessibility can occur. Now, we've already looked at a few tools that are assistive. Do you remember PowerPoint Live on your phones could show different languages at the bottom? You're seeing at the top of my PowerPoints, we're seeing that as another way. And myself as a teacher, a lot of teachers don't even put video in their courses because they think of the headache that closed captioning would be. But if they knew that it was this easy, so we want students to grow their own potential and gain that independence. We know that if students can independently learn, they feel more successful. So we have all of those accessibility tools already built in. And teachers are more empowered to engage every learner. Teachers will purposely leave out videos and things like that because then they're like, well, I got to close captioning them. That's a lot of work. Well, now it's not that work. And I think schools really do build better reputations as a positive place that promote equity and inclusion for everyone. And when we talk about promoting independent learning, we really have to categorize them across. For example, we're not just talking about one challenge. We have learning challenges like dyslexia, which is reading and words getting a little twisted around, dysgraphia, dyscalculia with numbers. We have students with low vision who could be blind. They could be colorblind. We have students who have challenges with hearing. We call it deaf or hard of hearing. And by the way, notice these correct words of saying this. You don't want to be offensive to a student by saying something that would not be the correct or PC way of saying it. Do we have students with mobility issues? For example, cerebral palsy or muscular dystrophy or an amputation. Sometimes even growing older because we have carpal tunnel syndrome or we're not as quick as we used to be. Neurodiversity, autism, ADD, ADHD, seizures. This is, we're getting a lot of students in this area and we really need to have the right modalities to help them. And even mental health for sure. It's funny, if we're sick or we have a cold, we go to the doctors. But with anxiety and depression and OCD, we seem to treat those people differently. And it's something that we need to make sure that we can address and reach everyone to their full potential. Nearly all of the study teachers mentioned how things like Immersive Reader, and I want to show you what a few of these pieces are that could really provide access and comprehension for everyone. But before we do, I want to express to you how common certain challenges are in the classroom. I think we feel like, well, probably 1 out of 100 students have dyslexia. Well, that's not true. We actually now believe it's up to 1 in 5. And a lot of the students don't even know. They just know they have challenges reading and they just figure they're not good at school instead of understanding how we can reach their potential. And dyslexia doesn't mean you just have a dysfunction. It doesn't mean that. It means you think differently, but that can be a good thing. Let me show you.
If you're dyslexic, it's kind of your superpower. It's like the way that you think.
Our brains, they're wired to, I think, process information differently.
Everyone you're seeing in this video is dyslexic. And I'm sure you recognize them. They're highly successful. Let's listen in.
It's just the way that you see the world.
I don't think people do think the way I think.
The way I see the world might be different from somebody else, but that's valid. In fact, it's vital.
Dyslexics literally think differently. We have a different wiring of the brain, which means that we're really good at certain things, but we have real challenges at more traditional education and learning.
The dyslexic brain actually processes information differently. So while it manifests itself in reading, writing, and spelling, and that's where it's most obvious, it's really a difference in how information comes into the brain and is processed, which can create difficulties, certainly in an academic setting, but also amazing opportunities in ability.
So we're starting to see amazing opportunities. And I think we don't typically examine that that could be an opportunity and not a disability. Let me show you one of the first accessibility tools that I want to dive into. And it's called Immersive Reader. If you remember from earlier of our sessions, we've mentioned it briefly. It was inside of Flipgrid. It's actually inside of Word. It was also inside of Teams. But let's experience something that you're going to try in your assignment. I've opened OneNote. In this case, I have OneNote for Windows 10. And I've been working on some information about the longest day of the year, the summer solstice. So I've gotten all this information in it, but maybe this is something I put in my students' notes and their reading isn't so great. So how could I assist them? Well, I want them to know if they click on View in OneNote and click on Immersive Reader, it takes that text on my screen and first makes it readable. So let's listen in.
This year, the northern summer solstice falls on June 20th at 5:43 p.m. Eastern Time. South of the equator, this same moment marks the unofficial beginning of winter.
Now, let's say that's too slow, too fast. Let's face it, we all have the attention span. At least I have a gnat some days, let me tell you. So you may want to change the voice settings down here. And I love that they did the turtle and the rabbit, the hare. So you can go a lot faster. And I actually have some students who really can comprehend at higher levels. Maybe you want a male voice instead. Let's continue.
Winter. Solstices occur at the same time around the world, but their local times vary with time zones.
Might be fast for a lot of us, but think of it based on grade level. If you're talking grade level or a college student, I think that would depend. But let me show you a few more features that we haven't had time to dig into. Look up here, we have something called text preferences. When I click on text preferences, I could change the font size. If I were talking younger grades or low vision, I could, make my fonts much larger to make it easier. I could increase the spacing. I could change it to some fonts are easier to read based on your setting. Actually, Calibri, the most common font, is the easiest supposedly to read for most. And based on your contrast capabilities and color blindness, these themes all take advantage of the high contrast levels that'll make things a little bit easier to read. And we can come up here as well and click on grammar options. And for my college folks, don't look at this and go, she's spending all this time on an elementary tool. 1 in 5 have dyslexia of some type. So we know this doesn't go away. This is something that we need to help students with at every age level. So show them these type of tools. This really could assist. So let's click on syllables right here. Do you notice it breaks the dots into all the syllables? We can turn our nouns, they turn purple, look around. Our verbs turn red. Of course, you can change these colors. Our adjectives, our adverbs, especially if you're learning a new language, making sure, placement of all these items. And look at show labels. As soon as I click right here, look above my words. Do you notice N dot for noun and V dot for verb? And let me go to my favorite tab. It's this one up here called reading preferences. When I click reading preferences, I could have them focus on a line or two at a time. I have to tell you, for those with ADD or ADHD, this is really helpful for them to focus on, especially when they're reading a lot of information for one of their courses. This is really helpful. And I love turning on this board dictionary. I'll show you what that does. And even choosing for translation purposes to another language. I want you to understand that some of our students do not speak English as their first language, nor do their parents. So by assisting them in seeing this in different languages, that would allow them to comprehend. You say, well, I want them to learn English. Yes, believe me, I grew up in Miami, Florida in a multicultural environment. I was the only blonde in my high school of about 3,000 students. And so I was one of the only Anglos. And I know how it feels when everyone else is speaking a different language, everyone's speaking Spanish. So a lot of times my teachers would speak in Spanish only, even in Miami. So to have it be able to be translated at time until I got good enough at Spanish. So it really does help. So now let me show you what that picture dictionary is. Now I can click on a word, most words, and it shows me a picture. And if you're learning new languages or you're in grade 1, this is extremely helpful. That will pop up. Here's spring. Let's see, equinoxes. Some of them do not have pictures, but a lot of these do. So for example, draw, look at that. So again, it really helps for that comprehension level to make sure I'm including everything. And you'd be surprised. A lot of students who we think are, English natural speakers don't know a lot of the vocabulary terms that we happen to throw out. So we really want to be able to do that. So once again, the Immersive Reader, and it's in a variety of items. For example, when I now go to the Bing browser, if you search for Immersive Reader in Bing, there's this free Get Immersive Reader offline extension that I'd like you to try. So click here and you will immediately, it will add on most pages this little tool right up here by clicking on this website right here, Get. Seconds later, it pops this tool in right here, not on every page, but pages that could be easily read. So now if I want to go back to the original where I got this text, I could also turn on the Immersive Reader in my browser. This even works in Google because that third party. And here are those grammar tools, those reading preferences, text preferences, and reading
History.
aloud any
Subscribe.
web page here. So very, very powerful to know. Microsoft has some other free apps to assist students with other needs. For example, let's take a look at Seeing AI. AI stands for Artificial Intelligence. This is a free app on the iPhone, and it's coming soon to Android.
Seeing AI is a Microsoft research project for people with visual impairments. The app narrates the world around you by turning the visual world into an audible experience. Point your phone's camera, select a channel, and hear a description. The app recognizes saved friends.
Jenny near top right, 3 feet away.
Describes the people around you, including their emotions.
28-year-old female wearing glasses looking happy.
I've got to stop there. So I know this app well, and I have found its weakness. If I frown like this and look at the camera, it says middle-aged woman looking angry. But if I smile, it actually will say a 30-year-old female. I'm going to take that. So smile, it does make you look younger, but what else can AI do?
It reads text out loud as it comes into view, like on an envelope.
Ken Lawrence, P.O. Box,
Or a room entrance.
Conference 2005.
Or scan and read documents like books and letters. The app will guide you and recognize the text with its formatting.
Top and left edge is not visible. Hold steady. Lease agreement. This agreement
When paying with cash, the app identifies currency bills.
$20.
When looking for something in your pantry or at the store, use the barcode scanner with audio cues to help you find what you want.
Campbell's tomato soup.
When available, hear additional product details.
Heated microwave bowl on height.
And even hear descriptions of images in other apps like Twitter by importing them into Seeing AI.
A close-up of Bill Gates.
Finally, explore our experimental features like scene descriptions to get a glimpse of the future.
I think it's a young girl throwing a frisbee in the park.
Isn't that amazing?
Experience the world around you with the Seeing AI app from Microsoft.
Now, I know you're thinking, I don't need to know this, and I don't have any student that needs it right now. But I think understanding what technology can do is vital. You know, in our lifetimes, as we each grow older, the odds of us needing some of these assistive technologies is probably higher than you would think. In fact, based on Microsoft's research, they're convinced that half of homes in the United States could use one of their assistive products because of something seeing larger, or someone who's colorblind, or something that assistive with dyslexia. So think of how many students could actually use these. Let me show you another one. This one is called Soundscape. This is Satya Nadella on the left, and one of the employees who made this new app. But important to the story here, this gentleman on the right is fully blind. He does have a seeing eye dog. So let me share with you what's going to happen.
On a sidewalk.
Hi, we are here today to talk about the Microsoft Soundscape app, which is an application that allows anyone with low vision or visual impairment to be able to have mobility and independence. And to help me do that, I have Amos Miller
with a dog
with me to really give us a real demo of this application. Amos, do you want to describe Soundscape?
Soundscape is really cool, okay? Using a stereo headset, it lets a person who's blind or low vision hear where the landmarks are around them in 3D. And in this way, they can build a richer awareness of their surroundings and feel more independent and confident to explore the world beyond what they know.
That's pretty cool. So it's kind of like it paints what's around you in sound.
That's exactly what it does. Shall we try it out?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, so you have the headset on.
Yes, I have the headset.
And you'll start by pressing around me and just listen to where the landmarks are and tell me where you're hearing them.
Around you.
On a smartphone.
Park 295 feet. Microsoft building 34,
wow, that's pretty awesome.
295 feet.
Soundscape effectively takes the same map that you have running on the phone and plays it in 3D sound. Isn't that cool?
That is so awesome.
With Soundscape, instead of turn-by-turn instructions, we will place an audio beacon on Building 34 so we can hear where it is.
Got it.
Okay?
So this app knows how to rendezvous with that beacon.
Exactly. So we'll set the beacon.
Okay.
Okay, there's a button to
and
set
so
the beacon.
should I also do the same?
Yeah, do exactly the same. And on the top of the list, you'll see Building 34 access ramps.
I'll do that.
Access ramp.
Yeah.
Beacon 285
okay.
feet.
Access ramp. And on your right ear, you'll start hearing a clicking sound. Can you hear that? Let's turn towards the way you're hearing the beacon.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's completely centered, and you hear a bell sound that tells you we are pointing at Building 34. Okay?
Yep.
Now, of course, we can't walk. There's a road on the way.
That's correct.
So let's walk along the road and find a place to turn right.
Okay.
All right, let's go. Straight on. You can hear the beacon on your right as you walk along here.
So I know that I'll have to at some point turn right.
That's right. So I'll start cueing the dog to find a crossing. Ever find a crossing? You might have received the
in fact I got
announcement.
Yeah.
Okay. Ever find a crossing? So you really work together with the app as well as the dog in this case.
Yeah.
Are we safe to cross?
Yes, we are.
Ever forward. And now, as the beacon straightens up right in front of us, you should...
Now, in this case, the dog would make sure that it is safe to cross the street. So interesting. Let me show you something else in just a moment. Now, let me take it one step further. How about on a city street, maybe New York City, walking around? Let's see how this rolls.
A beacon set for Nike store, 248 yards.
The beacon has been helpful in approaching different addresses and places in busier areas.
I'm getting the bell right about here.
Great. So let's just head off that way.
Okay. Forward.
It's been a unique experience to work with the Soundscape team. They have been so transparent, forthcoming, open to feedback. It's been a really dynamic relationship. You have blind people on your team. You're working deeply with agencies like Lighthouse and reaching out and engaging with blind people in different places and from different backgrounds and really making sure that what's being created is aligned with the needs of the community.
Fiddler forward.
Nike store.
Left inside. Woohoo! Okay. Hi, how are you today?
What do you guys think? Well, on to the assignment, but one first last thought. So before you do, I want to show you maybe a famous face you've seen before. And some of you might know who Marlee Matlin is. She is an Academy Award person. I love what she says. No one should have to ask for access. It should just be there. And Marlee Matlin, a famous actress, is hearing impaired, but yet hard of hearing and able to be able to do anything with these new tools. So now let's have you try them yourself. Proud of you guys. Take care.